Hey YouTube, it's Magician34, and I've got something that is what I call the Exodia Ultimate Stall deck. It's got all 5 pieces of Exodia, obviously. This is your win condition. This deck is a special kind of 1-2 punch. It's made for regionals, or if you're feeling really ballsy, then Shonen Jump level events. But basically events where you're going to have a timed round. I suppose it could work at your locals, but it's much more fun if you do it to people you don't know. We have Sangan, of course, gets you Exodia pieces. And along those lines, we've got 3 Mystic Tomatoes who can cycle through each other or just go straight for the Sangan, as you kind of see fit. We're also running 2 copies of Emissary of the Afterlife. He goes and gets the normal Exodia pieces. Can't get the head, though. So usually Sangan's going to go for the head. And basically the concept of this deck is it's a control stall variant that's virtually impossible for almost any meta deck to break through. We have 2 copies of Marshmallow, and you'll kind of get the feel for that pretty soon. We run 3 copies of Swift Scarecrow. This guy's pretty much the ultimate stop, so he's always your last line of defense. We also have 3 copies of Battle Fader. Similar kind of thinking. Keeps your opponent from killing you, buys you another turn. We also have 3 copies of this often forgotten card, Zero Gardna. Basically, you summon him, and then anytime you want, he's treated as spell speed 2. He has a Wabaku effect, so you can just tribute him even during your opponent's turn or in response to your opponent's card activations, and prevent all damage to your monsters and yourself. Just pretty awesome, and it's poignant to mention that he's a warrior as well. We're running 3 copies of Pot of Duality because we do obviously very little special summoning on our own turn, almost none. Helps us accelerate into our Exodia pieces and search for stall mechanisms as your needs may be. We run 3 copies of Upstart Goblin, just accelerates the deck. We run 3 copies of One Day of Peace. This buys you a turn with a Wabaku sort of effect, although it won't protect your monsters, and it also draws you a card, and the card they draw really doesn't matter. But what also is kind of useful about this is if your life points are low, this can allow you to take no damage off of ramming your Mystic Tomatoes or Sangans or Emissaries into your opponent's attack position monsters. But you'll still get their Go to the Grave effect. We're also running 2 copies of Gold Sarcophagus, just 2. Basically, the time delay is a problem, and if you get too many in your opening hand, that can be a bad thing. So we're just running the 2. 2's enough. We also have Reinforcement of the Army. This basically just accelerates us through our deck, but it also helps you get Zero Gardna, which you can then, of course, summon and use to block them for yet another turn. We have Monster Reborn, that's for Sangan and Emissary. Pot of Avarice, in case your Exodia pieces somehow get sent to the yard. But this can also send your Swift Scarecrows and Zero Gardnas and stuff like that back into your deck for repeat abuse. We also have Dark Hole. Dark Hole is not really an aggressive tool in this deck. It's for popping your Sangan and Emissaries when your opponent gets wise and decides to leave all their stuff in defense mode and stall, trying to put up some elaborate means of somehow cutting you off from actually summoning Exodia. Dark Hole will allow you to destroy your stuff anyway and get your searches despite them. And last but not least, we also have 3 copies of Messenger of Peace because it blocks Ixie's monsters, as well as Synchro monsters, and your opponent has to invest in trying to destroy these cards. That's the whole main deck. It's pretty much a guaranteed game 1 win off of Exodia, because, I mean, there's literally just everything in the deck either searches for other cards, or buys you a turn, or is in fact a piece of Exodia. So it's very difficult to get a bad hand in this deck. In fact, it's almost impossible. The only problem is when people play against decks like these, just kind of observation, they play very slowly, and they're always trying to figure out some way to beat it. So oftentimes, you'll win game 1, but you don't get very far into game 2 before time's going to get called on you. And when time gets called on you, you're almost surely going to have lower life points, which means you'll lose game 2 ultimately in time, which will cause the match to be a draw, which isn't what you want. So after game 1, and you kind of have to look at your time and see how much time is left in the round, but if you're not really confident that you have plenty of time for game 2 to be an Exodia win, what you do is you switch to your 15-card side deck. And your entire 15-card side deck is dedicated to raising your life points in game 2. Let's say there's 10 minutes left in the round. You side into your 3 golden ladybugs, 2 copies of Maria the Fallen One, because you're going to have some cards that are going to discard. And your hand size oftentimes in this deck will get pretty big, so you actually need to discard. So she's just one more way to kind of harass your opponent by gaining you life points. and it's just how often do you get a chance to play her. Golden ladybugs are obviously going to be your primary life gain method. You can also search this with Sangan. You're going to side in your Swords of Revealing Light, 2 of them, 2 Solemn Wishes, because it's just one more way you can make 500 a turn. 3 copies of Rainbow Life. It's nice and chainable. You'll notice there are no traps in the main deck, so they'll never side into Decree. In fact, if they have a main deck, they'll side it out, which gives you a big advantage game 2, because all this stuff's going to pretty much be guaranteed to work. Rainbow Life is for when they think they've actually pushed through, might try a big attack, something like that. This just gains you the life, which puts them that much further behind. We also run 1 copy of Ceasefire, just because it's an incredibly effective method of dealing damage to them, which increases the gap between your life points. And we also have 2 copies of Magic Cylinder for the same reason. It blocks attacks, meaning you're not taking damage, and then it deals them damage back, which once again widens the gap. You're not trying to kill them with these cards, you're just trying to make sure your life points are higher. Important note for Game 2, or I suppose Game 3 if it comes to that, but it almost never should, is you're siding out your 5 pieces of Exodia. You're also siding out anything specifically to do with Exodia. Basically, Game 2 just becomes a stall, gain life, stall, gain life, stall, gain life. So obviously, when the Exodia goes out, the emissaries go out. You can arguably take out Sangan, Mystic Tomatoes, stuff like that. You're just wholly focused on this life gain engine right here. And that should seal you Game 2 when you go to time, because your life points will be higher. They can't do much about it. You'll win Game 2, which will get you the match. And so, there you go. It's Exodia's Ultimate Stall. And until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and check out my channel for more cool gaming content.